Now, the Ghanaian Times is reporting this morning of Fanko Sawam Road, traveler's headache. And this story, I have to leave it for Mawavi because living in the Eastern region and working in the Greater Accra region, it's a difficult one.
Very, very difficult.
I identify with your woes, your pain every single day of my life. And feel what you feel ordinarily. And for all of you who will still struggle to get to work this morning, because see, this is, and the other thing you forget is the respiratory impact of this kind of road.
Yeah.
With all the dust on kids,
So
on everything.
If you're driving in a public, I mean in a trotro, for instance, in a van that is not air conditioned, it means you have a problem.
Yeah.
And I've used that stretch of road before. My goodness, I perfectly understand you. To be on that road is wahala.
My mother said when I was a kid, I had very white eyes. That growing up, now she's insisting I was living in Africa. That's actually
Now, let's move on to
brought dust and other things onto my eyeballs.
I am glad I am not the one telling the Ofanko.
No, it's a very terrible thing,
and
actually.
that the Ghanaian Times is highlighting on it. They used to have these tankers sprinkle water on the road.
And you see,
but
Georgina
that is
Asare
not consistent.
Fiagbenu, senior manager at MTN, has been sharing their plight all the time on Facebook.
Okay.
You know, she takes a video and would share it and would tag me, and I can understand.
So now, I mean, I think it should be one of the priorities. Luckily, we had Governors Kwame Agboja responding to issues on roads in the country yesterday. Hopefully, Governors will prioritize one of these, because I heard him talk about some of the roads he was going to prioritize. Hopefully, this will be in his top 10. I mean, let's give convenience to our people so that we can boost our human resource. Give Marvin, the
you
word.
Want to say longevity?
Yeah.
That's what you wanted to say, right?
Okay, talking about Kwame Agboja, let's just have a wrap of what transpired in Parliament. That's a bit of the vetting yesterday. Listen to it.
The few physical immigration, e-gates that were planted could cost 1.7 million Ghana cedi. But if government had listened to what I was saying, it wouldn't have resulted into some of the embarrassment we saw at the airport when the vice president was trying to commission it. The former vice president. If I were to tell you today that there is not even any contract for the e-gate, there is no contract. So what the 1.7 million they were talking about, there is no contract. It is the responsibility of Finance Ministry to continue funding projects that are on site. So big push is not about completing the projects already on site, but the major intervention project that can actually pay for itself, that can actually make huge impact on the country. So that is the difference. So we're not going to stop ongoing projects. The president has already made a commitment to that. However, the big push projects are dedicated and significant projects that are not going to be rushed, that are going to be done effectively so that all Ghanaians will get the impact of those projects.
I also note that there's about 5,000 infrastructure deficit when it comes to provision of GNA. I also note that there's about 5,000 infrastructure deficit when it comes to provision of junior high school, basic schools, and secondary schools in northern Ghana, and also in Oti and western north. The statistics is not too encouraging for them. The urban concept, many in this area have taken full advantage of it. With the rare privilege of the president entrusting me as his minister for education, I will work towards equity and improve quality to education at all levels of our country. I would endeavor to close that gap, recognizing that I may have to do some affirmative action interventions to get it going, to correct some of the historical imbalances that are responsible for the deficit. The Ghana Education Trust Fund has done its part. In the last few years, it has suffered because of the decision of then Minister of Finance to cap it. President Mahama and the Minister of Finance have gone public, and I join them in saying that we will uncap the GET fund to free additional resources to support robust infrastructure development. Indeed, mathematically, CAP Get Fund today is about $3.2 billion Ghana cedis, 3.2 billion Ghana cedis. And CAP, it will make available to the Ministry of Education some 7.9 billion, which will accelerate expanded infrastructure. For instance, there are about 2,800 schools that needs to be fixed to deal with the problems of overcrowding.
Normally, people encounter a lot of difficulties accessing land for agricultural purposes. We want to make agriculture attractive to the youth and everybody in this country. So we will want to acquire the land, prepare the land for agricultural purposes, then hand over the land to prospective investors so we can increase production and drive our nation towards food sufficiency. What we will do is first and foremost to identify the owners of the land. If the land belongs to the chiefs, we go to the chiefs. If it belongs to families and the family head is Honorable Brian Champon, we'll go to him, discuss with him, acquire the land, and then prepare it for the agricultural use. Simple. It is indeed a serious problem confronting agriculture in this country. And we will want to introduce something new to reduce food losses in this country. We've been talking about agribusiness. What we are saying is that we are going to encourage the private sector to put in place mini plants close to the farms so that as soon as we harvest, they will buy the produce, process them. If it is cassava, for instance, you grind the cassava, put it in the rubber, you seal it, and then they sell to the big companies. If we are able to put these mini processing plants around the country, we will reduce food losses significantly in our country.
You know, Haruna Idrisu governs Kwame Agboja and Eric Opoku. Education, roads, and agri ministers designate. But today, based on the 120-day contract that President Mahama had with us, today is day 14. And please, let nobody say that he meant working days. He said 14 days. So today is day 14.
True.
Yes, today is day 14.
Which means that the conclusion of the matter is today.
But it will be fair to also say 14 working days.
No, he meant 14 days. Listen, when you say 90 days,
it will be a fair justification.
No. When you say 90 days, 90 days.
If you don't, they'll say 120 working days.
Working days. He didn't say working days.
Let's stick to
let's stick to what he said.
Yeah, and it should be easy.
Easy. We're waiting for the
final list. Except that the boys are not so happy with the lack of mentioning. Yesterday, Afeni Makin got Kofi Bua very quiet. When he said you should be praying. Your name may not be on the list. When he said that, the man came very quiet. Then he said, I belong here. So, boss. You don't want to be there, please.
The member of parliament for Elembele, who himself is now become a Mugabe in Elembele.
Yeah.
That's on the lighter note. But when they said Freddie Bele was Mugabe, he had done only 3 terms.
Yeah.
But Ama Kofi Bua is now in his 5th term. Is now in his 5th term. Now, Emmanuel Ama Kofi Bua, at the time, we thought was the one who had the Western region slot when it comes to regional balance. When you're appointing, you must think about religious and particularly regional balance and all of that. The thinking was that he had the Western regional slots. Then Emilia Arthur was appointed fisheries and aquaculture, and that begins to put pressure on him.
Yeah, there.
You see, the reason people are now asking where is Sam George going to be is that Dr. Agnes Namumulate is Gender, Children and Social Protection Minister. All other things being equal, she'll be a cabinet minister because that particular portfolio may be a cabinet position.
Because it's absolutely important.
Yes. So if you are a Sam George, you're asking, where would I be? Where would I be? Communications?
Did you say deputy?
Yes. But why? Why not deputy?
No. Penciled for substantive ministerial position.
Why?
Yes. This is Sam George
How many of those
Yes,
slots
I agree.
are even available?
Yes, I'm
very
saying
limited
that.
positions
But
left now.
I don't think that it will be far-fetched to make Sam George a deputy minister in the government. I do not think so at all. If it's not, I mean, the expression that John Kufuor consistently referenced, you are better off as what?
Messenger.
Yes, in a government than being a general secretary of an opposition party. But in this case, sometimes you can be in the government and still be what they call
we'll
it.
We'll see what would happen.
But you see, all the people that we keep mentioning, do we even know if they themselves want these appointments?
You are asking whether Sam George wants to be appointed a minister in the Republic of Ghana?
Mama V,
Really?
what are you suggesting?
Oh,
It's a legitimate question.
okay. This morning, unless we have snow in the Republic of Ghana, nobody can convince me that Sam George will not be interested or has not been praying about becoming minister in Ghana's
Maybe
Republic.
he said, "No, thank you, Mr. President."
He said it. I see.
Could
no,
be.
I mean, we'll get to know today, no matter what happens anyway. And okay, so we also had Vete, right? I was impressed with the.
A Greek minister?
Let me start with Abuja. I mean, I was impressed with Abuja's delivery. Yes, Eric Poku too.
I enjoyed him.
Yes, and you could see, and frankly, sometimes when the people have been spokesperson for the sector, you can see it. You can see that they appreciate the issues. They can connect with the issues.
For him, I think it's not just the fact that he's been a spokesperson. I mean, he knows the sector and he backs what he says with data from the
that's
World
what a spokesperson
Bank.
does.
But he's also, he's an agriculturist.
Yes, but that's what a spokesperson does. If you're a spokesperson, in order to go after government,
Yeah, you
should
have
know
to
the
find-
sector.
yes,
And
enough.
so Governor Kwame Agboja, spokesperson
yeah.
before became minority chief whip, so knew that sector. I mean, Haruna Idrisu.
And frankly, it showed in his own. He tried his best, and I actually think that he didn't really probe his time properly. That Haruna Idrisu's time.
No.
I actually think that they could have had that a lot more probing, and there were still outstanding questions. The controversy over the the tertiary thing, it sounded confusing. First, he said, "Oh, it's a no tuition policy."
Haruna himself,
quickly, you have to come back and correct it.
Yes, no, he started a confusion. Then
Yeah, he started. Yes.
Then now turns around and tells him, but that is not what we promised. Free academic facility user fee is what they all were. talking
No, he
about.
even mentioned admissions.
Which is not the case. That's not what the NDC
In fact,
promised.
let me read what is in the manifesto.
Yes.
It says, under this policy, in fact, the policy is that the next NDC government will introduce a no fee stress policy to alleviate the hardship on parents and students in public tertiary institutions, which also became another contention.
Yeah.
There was no mention, in fact, the entirety of this policy page, there is no mention. That's 5.1 to 5.11. It says, under this policy, we will implement a no academic fees policy
Yes.
for all first year students in all public tertiary institutions.
Raymond, hold on. We'll come back to that.